West from our show makes fun of Oklahoma all the time. He calls them Choklahoma. What is happening with OU?
Talking about a team with a huge changeover when you switch from a coach that had you in national championship contention every year, had a pretty good string of Heisman Trophy winners and finalists. You bring in a new coach, and you had a lot of players that left and decided to follow their coach to USC. The transfer portal has made it so if you're not having success every year or playing the players, they'll bounce on you real quick. And I think Oklahoma's going through a transition when you go, from a guy who was a fantastic, college coach in Lincoln Riley, and he moves out to USC. I think that hurts. Oklahoma's got a name, and they've been a name a long time in college football. But just like Nebraska, they're not in the most appealing of markets. So, you got a chance to play in LA with the beaches and the celebrities, or do you want to play in the middle of Oklahoma, Norman, Oklahoma? It's hard. It's really hard for a team like that, and it takes success from a coach. And now they've got to try to find that all over again.
Yeah, listen to these scores for USC. 66, 41, 45, 42. The game that they only scored 17 was against a very good Oregon State team, and they beat them in Oregon State 17-14. So, yeah, they just took the OU Mo and switched it over to another school, basically. Speaking of another school, let's talk about the A&M beat Alabama. Did they not? One time since that guy came?
Yeah.
24.5 points are given.
It's so hard for some of these teams to try to pick those games. I try to stay away from those gigantic point spreads. It's so hard on a week-to-week basis. We saw Georgia struggle a week ago. We've seen Alabama struggle this year. So there are times when these programs that are paid a lot of money to come in and play these teams, you've got to get up for these games. And sometimes when you're projected to win by so many points, I think it's hard for some of these young kids to get up for some of these games. And so those gigantic point spreads are ones that I tend to stay away from, because it's so hard sometimes to try to say, okay, I'm going to give 30 points. I'm going to give 25 points. I'm going to give 40 points. Not for me, not with my money.
You could have a 3-teamer in college at pace that has given 100 points, no doubt about it. So listen to what we got. We got SEC action. Alabama's given 24.5. We got Big Ten action. Ohio State's given 26.5. Are these conferences really are we just sitting around waiting for these teams the two teams that are good in each conference to play in the conference championship games?
Well, it feels like that. It feels like we're waiting for Georgia, Alabama, and we're waiting for Ohio State, Michigan at Thanksgiving. So, yeah, I mean, we've seen Wisconsin already cut loose their coach, and that's a storied program that's been good for a long, long time. So we saw Nebraska in the Big Ten dump their coach. So, yeah, I really think, sadly, right now in the Big Ten, we're waiting for Michigan, Ohio State. And in the SEC, like you said, we're waiting for Alabama and Georgia.
On Saturday, is there a game that is on your radar that most people would say, you know what, I didn't think about that game?
Probably Michigan, Indiana. You and I for a few years there had a huge success with the Hoosiers and covering against big time teams. Obviously, a lot of those players are gone now, but Indiana has always played big teams tough, and not necessarily where they're in the position to win the game, but in the position to cover every time. So, Michigan, good team. Haven't really been challenged too bad yet. Can score some points, but Indiana's one of those teams that always just kind of hangs around. So I'm going to take the Hoosiers and take all those points this weekend, and probably take the Hoosiers to cover again.
No, I remember specifically going in one time. They went into Indiana or into Michigan, I think, and they played them well. But let's look at the head-to-head. That would have been I think they were getting 24, and Michigan won 20-10. I think that was the game. They had a push. IU lost by 11 again in Michigan, getting 28. So it looks like IU actually plays better in Michigan than they do when they play at Indiana. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Clemson is a team that I've continued to cash on every week. It's nice when a team takes a little bit of a step back when guys graduate, because then the point spreads become a little more reasonable. They've done real well for me this year. I continue to put money on them every week.